The Tree of Forgotten Shadows. On a silent night, a legend that seemed forgotten returned to haunt a small town. They said that in a distant forest, there was a tree, the Tree of Forgotten Shadows. Those who saw it never returned. But what happened when a group of curious young people decided to prove that it was all just made-up stories? Their first mistake was ignoring the warnings from the locals. The second, without a doubt, was following the sound of whispers that seemed to echo from deep within the forest. None of them knew, but what awaited them was not an ordinary tree. It was a door, a portal, that lured lost souls. And something was waiting for them, something that did not want to be discovered. As they approached, the atmosphere grew thick. The air turned colder, the trees more twisted, and the shadows deeper. The Tree of Shadows seemed to absorb all light around it, creating a field of darkness, an unsettling void. Some said an invisible presence haunted the place, and anyone who dared stay too long would be taken. Then, the impossible happened. The ground beneath their feet split with a deafening roar, as if the earth itself was alive. The scream of one friend echoed, but no one ever saw them again. Only the others remained, frozen with fear, paralyzed by uncertainty about what had happened. The tree began to move, its roots twisting like hungry snakes. It was impossible to believe, but they were witnessing something supernatural. And a voice, whispering and cavernous, echoed in their minds. You already know what happened, but you still don't understand. Eyes frozen with fear, hearts pounding wildly, but something forced them to look. They were now part of the riddle. No matter what they tried to do to leave, there was always something more, something pulling them back, as if the place knew their greatest fears. They began seeing things. Shadowy figures moving at the edge of their vision, out of the corner of their eyes. The shadows were taking shape, horrific creatures emerging from the darkness with a single purpose, to consume their souls. Every step they took seemed to lead them deeper into the labyrinth of the forest, with no way out, no direction. And the worst part, each time one of them disappeared, the shadows grew, and the presence of the tree became even stronger, as if feeding on their fear. The group was now being devoured by something they couldn't control. With the disappearance of another member, anxiety consumed the survivors. Panic took hold, but there was something even more terrifying lurking, the idea that they were no longer human, but pieces in a cruel game. The forest, the tree, everything seemed to work against them. The wind hissed in their ears, as though they were being watched. Where were the souls of the missing? Silence fell, but only for a moment. Then, something moved, and the image of one of them, or what remained, appeared before them, with empty eyes, as though they were lost forever. As the group advanced, they began to see more and more visions. The souls of those who disappeared were there, but not as before. Their bodies were shadows, specters with twisted faces, as if they were trying to say something, but without a voice. Panic overtook the remaining ones. Reality was disintegrating. No one knew what was real anymore and what was part of the psychological terror imposed by the forest. And once again, the murmur of the tree, now clearer, seemed to know everything. Each soul that disappeared brought with it an answer that would never be given. Now, the forest became a relentless battlefield. Every movement seemed to be watched, every breath carried weight. The shadows grew denser, as if they were tangible, and the very ground seemed to give way beneath their feet. They were trapped in a loop. They tried to turn back, but the direction always seemed to change. The trees wouldn't let them out, and the sound of the tree, that damned tree, became deafening. Something more powerful than any of them could understand was being unearthed, but no one knew exactly what it was. Suddenly, a figure appeared before them. It was no longer human. A shadowy silhouette, with eyes glowing like embers, rose from the earth. It was a creature that no longer resembled any living being. It didn't speak, but in their minds, the young people heard the terrible truth. The tree wasn't there just to observe. It was searching for pure souls to complete a pact, and they, unknowingly, were the final key to the freedom of the imprisoned creature. With each passing day, its pain and hunger grew. They were closer than they imagined. But were they? Reality seemed to have collapsed completely. The tree was not just a tree, but a portal to another world. A prison for souls. The remaining friends were on the verge of madness, with their last chance of escape approaching. But there was a price. Sacrifices were necessary, and, just as before, curiosity drew them closer to an endless abyss. The whispers grew louder. The creature watching them laughed silently, but no one knew if they were hearing it with their ears or with their minds. The fate of all was about to be sealed. What remains of the survivors? There are no clear answers. The tree, the shadows, everything disappeared when the last echo of the scream faded into the air. Some say they were taken, others claim the legend still lives, waiting for the next victim. But one question remains: who are those who disappeared? Where are they now? What happened to the lost souls of the forest? Every night, someone hears a whisper from an unlikely place, a shadow lurking beyond sight. The mystery continues, unanswered, forever. Would you dare to go to the Tree of Forgotten Shadows? What would you do if you were one of the disappeared youths, now trapped, watching the cycle repeat? Leave your comment, like, and share this story, because maybe, just maybe, the mystery is closer to you than you think. What do you think really happened?
Share now. Have you ever experienced something so terrifying it seemed impossible to explain? Here on the channel, your story can come to life. I want to hear your darkest and most chilling tales of terrifying urban legends, encounters with spirits, forbidden mysteries, and macabre cases that defy reality. Share your experience to leave our viewers curious, speechless, and full of questions. Subscribe now and tell what no one else dares to share.